It's Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance, and we are inside the state capitol in Lansing. We are joined by Triston Cole. He is a member of the Michigan House of Representatives, representing 5 counties in northern Michigan. And I want to speak with you, sir, about infrastructure, roads, bridges, metaphorically speaking. Talk to us about what it looks like in your 5-county area in terms of roads and bridges.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me on.
Of course, always.
This is fantastic. Always like to talk to you about the issues in northern Michigan. Northern Michigan, a destination for everyone in Michigan and around the country and around the world. And we need to continue working on our infrastructure up there, particularly, specifically, roads and bridges leading into some of our state land, our beautiful recreational property in northern Michigan.
And let's talk about that challenge, because when you talk about state land, that literally means it's owned by the state. And so
equally by everyone.
Right, owned by all of us. But then municipalities, localities don't necessarily have the ability, the authority to work on those roads, even though we don't know that it's state land or local land. Right. And so explain that challenge for us.
Specifically, the tax revenue for infrastructure, for roads in particular, is lower with these high densities of state land in some of our townships and our counties. I'll take my personal township. We're looking at a township that's 70% state land. So even with a local roads millage, we raise a very small amount that's not enough to even fix one of our small roads.
Explain that. Be very specific. You told me the example, and it's stunning.
And so, one of my priorities moving forward for the next 2 years is to work on that issue,
right,
so that the stakeholders, the landowners of this state land from around the state, have great access points into their property.
But if you raise money, how much are you raising? Like $40,000, $50,000?
Yeah, in my particular township, 70% state land, we raise $40,000.
Yeah, that could fix 3 feet of road.
Exactly. And yet we have, particularly 3 entrances into the Jordan River Valley, which is a major location for recreation in my district.
What about PIL, payment in lieu of taxes? How does that play into this?
So my general idea right now, and this is something that we're going to work through the legislative process, is to work on an equation of a percentage of state land, the value, the taxable value of the private land holdings, and how do we get there so that it's so we can take care of our roads?
Is that
it's going to be a varying number?
Right. Is that going to cause a bit of a rift between rural interest and urban interest in the legislature?
Well, everyone in urban areas equally owns this state property.
Well stated.
And so this is a state issue, so that people have great access to their properties to come and recreate. It's no secret that people love to vacation in northern Michigan, particularly they like the 105th district.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
Especially one of the island communities with Beaver Island.
Of course they do. So Michigan has had, let's say, a troubled relationship with how to fund its roads. And when I say Michigan, I mean the voters feel conflicted by it. A couple of years ago, actually just in May of 2015, Proposition 1, which was a transportation funding package, failed miserably. 20% said yes, 80% said no.
They did.
There was a package that came out of that, though, passed last year, $1.2 billion road funding package, which was helpful, but doesn't do it all.
Correct.
But what can you tell us about that roads package?
Well, one of the main reasons that I was able to be supportive of that package is it took existing money and went directly to roads. It went to specifically the bottom of Public Act 51, which is Michigan's road funding mechanism, and I was able to get behind that because many of the voters that I talked to that didn't like Prop 1 wanted existing money to go directly to roads.
Okay.
And that was something I was able to help negotiate to make sure that happened.
But do we need new revenues? I mean, that really is the question. No one loves taxes, don't get me wrong, but do we need new revenues?
It is a function of government to take care of infrastructure.
Right.
That is a role. Michigan was blessed with great roads for a long time. They were built very well. And it allowed us to put relatively inexpensive Band-Aids on our infrastructure for a long time to keep them adequate. And at this point in time, we're dealing with failing road structures. Talking to my local road commission, for example, a lot of culverts are being replaced right now. Most of the culverts in our area were put in the 1950s, and they are simply at the end of their life. So we're looking at that happening across the spectrum with road construction. They're simply beginning to crumble, not because they haven't been maintained or taken care of. They're just at the end of their lifespan.
But do existing revenues cover it?
No, not even close.
So then,
because the revenues did not keep up with the cost of well, the cost of maintenance, for example, the cost of materials, the sheer cost of building roads today is much different and much greater than it was when they were first built.
So do we need to look at the gas tax? Do we need to look at registration fees?
Listening to the voters again, look at more internal money and then putting it directly to roads and bridges. That's what I'm hearing from constituents in district.
The incoming federal administration,
wild
card indeed, but what we do know is that Mr. Trump spoke throughout the campaign about infrastructure spending.
Yes.
And so music to your ears, I would presume.
It is.
And so I'm wondering, let us presume that he sticks by that. What can you do as the representative of the 105th district of the state of Michigan to make sure that funding gets sent, federal monies, to your district, to Michigan generally, from an infrastructure program of the incoming administration?
So it's again having great communication with our congressman.
Right.
That is the direct conduit to the federal government. And I've expressed multiple times to some of the federal folks that we need the strings cut to Michigan when this money comes from the feds to the state. We need, as state legislators, more flexibility, more leeway to make sure it goes specifically where it's needed, directly where it's needed.
And presumably the philosophy of the incoming administration would line up with that,
That's
presumably.
I've said it's an exciting time to be in state politics because I do believe that's going to happen with the Trump administration, that those strings are going to be reduced, if not eliminated in a lot of cases, and that allows us to put money directly on the problem and follow through on solutions.
I think about representatives in the House that may represent portions of Detroit or Flint or Saginaw or Kalamazoo, and they can drive from the top end of their district to the bottom in, 15, 20 minutes.
Sure.
Not Triston Cole.
No, it takes me a boat ride or an airplane ride to get from the northwestern corner out on Beaver Island to the mainland and then across multiple counties. I've got Charlevoix, Antrim, Otsego, Montmorency, and Oscoda counties. Vast areas with, in some cases, minimal road coverage.
Yeah, speaking of roads.
So I've got to go around a lot of communities through other districts to get to, say, the southeastern corner in the Fairview area.
Sir, how do you service your constituents? I mean,
my car has a lot of miles.
Your car has a lot of miles. Well, I know that's important to you.
It is.
And I know it's important to you regardless of party affiliation, regardless of any type of difference.
Yeah, I've worked really hard to make sure that constituents know I'm available and accessible. That's the number one issue. When I have coffee hours, when I meet with people, I said, if you don't invite me, I can't go. I don't know about it. I like to be people's personal guest.
What are they saying to you when you have coffee? What do they say? What they say to you this year, this election year?
It ran the gamut of issues, from hunting and fishing issues to roads to education. I mean, it was really all over the map. And what I like to do is build those relationships with people so that they know they have my cell phone number, so that they can call me.
That's risky.
It's really
that's risky.
It's important. I was taking phone calls from the education side, the day before Thanksgiving. I was on Facebook communicating with Messenger on Thanksgiving morning. I mean, I'm committed to taking care of constituents, and it's important. I work for them. And I'm available and accessible. So
you're a good man, Triston Cole. He is a representative in the Michigan House of Representatives, representing the beautiful 105th District. My name is Brad Pomerance. Inside the state capitol in Lansing, this is Charter Local Edition.